Good morning and welcome to another episode of the RoadFS Podcast. I am minus a partner today. Jody's under the weather. So it's just going to be me, Rod Pusey, and our guest, Josh Pierce from Carousel Auto Appearance. Josh, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. So tell everybody where you are at in the world.
I'm currently in my storeroom in the middle of Iowa City, Iowa at my shop.
There you go. So Josh has been around quite a while. How long have you been doing this?
All in all, I've been in the auto industry close to 20 years.
Yeah, that's kind of my background too, in the auto industry, but not necessarily just in detailing. So one of the unique things about you is that you are all over the place. I've seen you at several different detailing events. You've been, on Air Force One. You've been in Monterrey at the McCall's event. So what is your primary business, like the thing that you do the most? And then let's talk about the whole list of things that you do.
So our bread and butter is detailing. We do a lot of dealership work, which I know is bad, but pays the bills. Yeah, I mean that's our bread and butter. I mean, we do a ton of ceramic coatings, a lot of high-end stuff as well. It's kind of a weird mix between the dealership work and the high-end clientele, but we make it work.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I mean, there is this stigma about dealership. Oh, that's bad. But we have clients that make a killer living just off of dealership work.
Oh yeah.
So it doesn't have to be bad.
No.
So how big of a community are you in there in Iowa City?
So Iowa City is about 60,000. The metro area with Cedar Rapids and everything, we're about 300,000 people.
Yep. And
I'm like on dealership row. I've got, Highway 1 runs in front of my building, nothing but dealerships.
Yeah. And I think I think the stigma comes because people don't know how to deal with dealerships. They can be very aggressive. They can think that you're at the bottom of the hill when stuff rolls down. But it's no different than a regular customer from what I've seen. And when I've actually had some experience with this. I actually went to a dealership. I helped the guy negotiate some pricing and things like that. So as long as you are still true to your business, if they want you to do every car for $20, you're going to be like, well, I'm not that guy. So you just have to be a professional business person with them, and they can be very intimidating and they treat people like dirt sometimes, but you can make a killer living doing detail work for a dealership.
Yeah, I mean, we support a staff of 13 doing dealership work. I mean, 13 different families are counting on us.
Yeah, and that's interesting. We should talk later on because Jody and I are releasing a feature in RoadFS. I'll take a little left turn here for just a second. That actually allows the dealership to go in and see their inventory and see where it's at in the process and schedule stuff. So anyway, a little preview for people to come. So let's talk about, I know I'm anxious to hear about it because like we were talking about beforehand, I live vicariously through watching you guys at Monterrey at the McCall's event. So tell everybody what that event is and what it's like to be there around that high end of vehicles.
It's really intimidating the first time you just kind of walk out on the jet center and you see millions of dollars worth of cars. Once you get into it, we're doing our jobs. I mean, that's kind of what we do. But just being there with all the other detailers, Team PNS, Bob, Dave, Keith, Sydney.
Yeah.
It's an amazing week. I mean, and then that's more, I mean, the cars are awesome, but it's the camaraderie with the team, the week you spend with them. Some really, really close and tight friendships are born that week.
Yeah. And that's been my experience at the events we've gone to, the Peterson Museum, Air Force One, and some of these other things where Jody's gone to, Falcon One. And it's kind of like when you go to SEMA or MTE, you meet people. Oh, here you go. What's your favorite car to work on?
I'm a Ferrari guy. I really enjoy the lot Ferraris.
Yep. Um, I enjoy I enjoy working on stuff that is I'm going to say weird, exotic, right?
Yeah.
I like working on anything that's crazy that people haven't seen before. And it's not, and I guess that's because I have no ego about my abilities to detail. I know that I know what I'm doing, but I'm not a professional detailer. And I understand also it's a matter of expectation. So an event like McCall's versus the neighbor's minivan, there's a lot less expectation on the neighbor's minivan. Um, there's a little bit of anxiety, from so do you still get anxious when you're there?
Yeah. Not so much as I used to, but I mean, it's, you're working on $1 million car. I mean, if you're not anxious, you're doing something wrong.
Yep. Yeah, that was we got the opportunity with Rigo Santana and the new generation detailers to be at that Peterson Museum, and I got really excited. I was, I'm born in the '60s, and my mom's a big Steve McQueen, and so when we saw that Steve McQueen's Jaguar was there, I just literally walked up to Rigo and I said, I want to be the one that works on this. And then he asked me a couple of questions about why, and I told him, that. And so I got to go over there and work on it. And the curator of the museum is watching us, and I wasn't anxious. I mean, I was anxious to work on it, and it was a real opportunity. And I knew that it was a repaint and that it was a, quote, priceless car. But I heard him and Jody talking, and he told Jody the value of that vehicle, and I'm not going to say what it is. And that's when I got anxious.
Yeah.
Because when you're working on something that's either priceless or multi-millions of dollars, I think there's a lot more anxiety just in, okay, I got to make sure that I do everything right.
Yeah. And you know what you're doing, but it's just one mistake and it's bad.
Yeah, it's super bad. So the Monterey, it's an entire week long, or is there prep time before?
Yeah, so last year I got in on a Monday, left on a Friday. This year I got in on a Sunday because I was a team captain. And we, spent Sunday at PNS getting the vans ready, loading everything up. Went down to the peninsula, was there till Friday night when we got done with the auction. Went back up to San Francisco, went back to PNS Saturday morning, helped unload the vans.
Wow. So that's a big thing. And then you guys obviously get to do I don't know what they call the night where you guys are all decked out.
Oh, the party?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. That's some interesting people watching.
Yeah. Well, I think that's most of those events. That's part of the fun, is just interacting with the people.
Yeah.
I know that when we were at Peterson's, we got to interact with some. It was actually, you would have loved it because it was Ferrari weekend, and so on the top of the parking garage they had a Ferrari show, and all these Ferraris were laid out there, and Magnus Walker was there, and I got to talk to him a little bit, and then some really big name people. You get to meet them and talk to them about cars or what they do and all that stuff. But I think that probably what people don't expect is did you feel out of place at the gala?
Not really. I mean, that's the cool thing, is nobody knows who you are. I mean, I show up in my suit and I could be, a billionaire rubbing elbows with a billionaire. Nobody had a clue.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's kind of people get nervous about that. And I don't know. I mean, I do too. When I first walked up to Magnus Walker, I was a little nervous just because he's famous. And I don't know what that's about. Your brain kind of goes, why am I nervous about this person? But it is, it's weird. But then once you get to talking to people, you're just talking to another person, and I think that is, you connect on a level of cars or motorcycles or whatever it is. I know that Gordon McCall, he and I one time we were at a dinner event, and we actually, at a point, we thought it was kind of rude because he and I were just sitting over in a corner talking about motorcycles and old cars and things, old Datsun B210s and old motorcycles and stuff. And we were really ignoring everybody else there. And we were like, we probably should go back to the main group. But so you guys do this. You guys, how many cars do you guys actually put through that event that you guys handle?
So for the auction at the Jet Center, I believe there was 190-ish.
Wow.
And then, the cars that showed up for the night of the party, I'm going to guess 70 to 80. And then the quail, I honestly, 200 cars maybe.
Wow, that is crazy. So then when you go back home, you said you had 13 people working there. You're a distributor for P&S as well.
Yep, I'm a storefront for them.
Yep. So you've got all that stuff going on. And that is one of the questions we always ask people is, what advice do you give somebody that might be starting out that's, one or two that doesn't have a storefront? What advice do you get them to where they can get to that level?
Commitment. I mean, that's kind of my motto. Funny, I'm actually wearing the shirt today. Without commitment, you'll never start. Without consistency, you'll never finish. You got to be committed, and you got to put out good work and work hard. There's no magical formula to any of this.
Right.
Other than be a good person, hard work, network with other detailers, other aspects of the auto industry. I've kind of found a lot of success with us is, getting my high-end clients. We do car shows, but I don't sell myself. I'll go to car shows and make friends. Hey, I also have a detail shop, if you ever need anything. Sometimes guys can be a little too pushy, try to sell themselves all the time. And, if you put out a good product, you do good work, you're a good person, and you have, good work ethic, good things are going to happen.
Yeah. I think a lot of times people get too anxious to go from, let's say, 1 to 30 employees, right? They want to get there tomorrow.
No.
And I think that part of it, it's a journey. You don't get there overnight.
From start to finish, we're at, a 20-year journey here. I mean, and we're not done yet. I mean,
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. And a lot of times I think, just me personally, because we'll get a lot of people call us on the phone and ask us advice about the stuff because we've been doing so many of these podcasts with different companies, and we get to hear all the stories. And, a lot of times people will they won't learn from a mistake. And let's even call it a failure. Let's say that I start a storefront and I don't sell anything and I realize, well, my community's not big enough to support that or whatever. Those failures can teach you a lot and help you move forward. And the other thing I see people do is they don't give up the control of detailing to their employees. They still want to control every car. You really can't do that. You have to trust your employees. And if you don't trust your employee, you need to look at why. Dealership wise, and I've told this story 100 times, but that's fine. I'll tell again. Jody and I were in North Carolina at Jamie Buchanan's shop, and it was late. He had 2 cars that needed to go to a dealership the neast day. And so he's like, I still got to get these cars out. And he's like, go grab a polisher and go. And, I could have destroyed it. Obviously I didn't, but we are trained. We know what we're doing. And so he literally just trusted us to grab a polisher and go to town. Yeah. And I'm not saying you got to hire somebody and just go, there's a car, fix it. But you have to learn your employees, get to trust them, and then move on. And we do that in our business as well. In every business, a lot of that is if someone can't give up that control, they don't succeed. So for you, when you're gone, do you have one person or do you have many people that you kind of put that oversee your business?
So I've been lucky. My wife is my partner.
Oh, okay.
She's here every day. She kind of takes control, but my guys know what they're supposed to do. I mean, that's the big thing is, if you've got employees that you can't trust, that's on you. I mean, you are not giving them the training. You are not giving them what they need, or you just need to cut loose. It's my responsibility to have a shop full of guys that, can do the job, don't need me to look over them 24/7. Now, my wife does do quality control. Everything gets checked before it leaves, but that's just the way we do things. But
right, that's part of the process, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it as long as people understand that. I do that. I will, when I do something, I'll have my Sydney Breakwin, literally one of the best in the industry, and Rod, my savior on two.
love you, Sydney.
Well, you're welcome, Sydney. I'm gonna have to try that now. I told my wife about it, and she's like, "We got to try that." There's a place across the street from us that has an orange creamsicle drink that we went out to Sydney Breakwin's shop on Monday or Tuesday, and we took her a drink. So anyway, that's what that's about. But I think that's part of it. And just like that right there, you meet people and you understand and you connect with them and you do that. And I think employees are the same way. Jody and I are extremely proud of the fact that we have, well, including there's us 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 employees that have been here longer than 10 years.
That's awesome.
So that's phenomenal. At one time, we were actually in 2018, Zenware, our parent company that owns RoadFS, Zenware was voted best place to work in Idaho. So you have to give them control. And there's a lot of times we'll tell our developers, we'll have an issue of like, how should we do this or how should we do that? And we'll say, you guys are in this every day. What do you think you should do? Yep. Because they've got to have the ability, if they get into a bind, to have that issue. It's like if you got one of your employees and I'm working in a car and I see this is not working, this combination is not working, I've got to have enough brains to switch it out, different pad, different compound, whatever. So let's throw it out there. Okay, here we go. I will have my mom or dad look over everything before it goes back to the customer. Nothing wrong with having fresh eyes to make
absolutely.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely, for sure. That QA process. It's just part of it. You need to look at it. I've got a daughter I've got two that are actually art majors. And when I'm mixing colors, I don't even attempt anymore. I just have my kids come out. I'm like, go, I need this. I was working on a boat, an old Mariah boat. And I'm like, oh, it's white. That's not white. Yeah. And my one daughter came out and she's like, literally, I was doing some gel coat. And she said, take a toothpick, dip it in the black, and just as small as amount you can get. And I have never seen it in my life, but I took the white gel coat, the toothpick with one little dab of black, put it in there. We mixed it up and took it out, and it was absolutely exact. I mean, first shot out of the gate. So a lot of times you need to give up that control and say, what do you think you should do? So, do you have a different set of people that do the ceramic coating from the dealership work, or is it kind of a mix?
Yep, I've got a couple guys that are dedicated just to ceramics, and I've got 6 guys that are pretty much just dealership work, and then I've got paint protection film, tint guys. I mean, we're in a little bit of everything as far as the reconditioning process goes.
Okay.
Main detailing, we got probably 6 guys that are full-time just detailing cars.
Wow, that's a big volume. What do you think? What do you kind of off the top of your head think the number of cars per week that you put through your shop?
Average, we're 150 cars a week.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. And then for those of you out there that have worried and talked about, the size of your community, think about what you just said about population. That's a lot of vehicles you're putting through there. But I think also a lot of it is people need to realize in their environment, what is the thing they need to do, right? If I'm in Southern California, I'm the high-end ceramic coat guy, right? But if I'm in Boise, Idaho, and Sydney Breakwin knows this, and all the other detailers here, the guys at the Rag Company, Levi Gates, and everybody that's here in Boise, Steve Thompson, that's not the main thing here.
Yeah. Now, I've got my retail and high-end business is enough to where it could be me and my wife in a shop making a really good living. But I can't support, all these other families just doing that work. I mean,
yeah. So you got to pick up other things. And I think that's just a basic financial thing is multiple assets, multiple streams of money coming in. So let's turn this around and have you ask some questions of possibly people watching, or what is it you're hoping to accomplish that somebody else might be able to answer?
Well, I've had a lot going on lately, so my mind's been kind of mush, but I guess for me, my biggest thing anymore is just trying to be a good person. I mean, any advice someone can give me on, how to be a better person, how to be a better boss. I think I'm, a pretty good person to work for, anything. I'm open to anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And I think that
about being in business is your mind's constantly got to be open to new things, new processes.
Yep. And I think partially you just answered your own question, because that's part of being a good person, is being open to that. I mean, if we have somebody, like I'm sure you do, if one of your employees, team members comes in and says, hey, I got this idea, what about this and this, is just being open to that knowing you don't always have the answers.
Yeah.
Somebody else might have the answer on how to do that. And that's the one thing I would tell most people is always have somebody to bounce stuff off of. There's several times when we'll have a meeting with somebody and it's just to bounce ideas off of. And again, I think that's one of the things about events like MTE, SEMA, the IDA meet and greets. Those are a great way to, come out and do that stuff. So perfect. What is on your agenda for the rest of the year?
Doing SEMA.
Hey, Sean.
Well, actually, Sunday, we're having a baseball game get together. I bought 100 tickets for a bunch of local detailers.
Wow.
So we're just going to kind of get together at the local AAA team and hang out and have some fun.
That's awesome. That is really cool that you did that for the people in the area. That's a lot of fun. So the SEMA will come up fast. Everybody knows SEMA is coming up. And then, of course, MTE in January.
Yeah, my fall's pretty wide open, really. I mean, not a whole lot going on. Got a few distributor trainings I'm going to be doing in November, but yeah.
Is that for PNS stuff or for other stuff?
Yeah, there's a couple distributors, in Iowa that, like to put on clinics at their shops.
Okay. That's awesome. So, questions about PNS? Are there new things on the horizon that they're going to be rolling out that you're going to be part of, or? Yeah. How big of a part of your business is that? Would you say the storefront?
It's not a huge part. It's more convenience for the customers. I might maybe sell $1,500 a week in product. I mean, it's not huge.
Yeah, but that's still additional income. And I think that a lot of people overlook that, thinking that they're competing with themselves. But everybody I've talked to that's got a storefront, they love it because it actually feeds them more business as well.
Oh, yeah. There's a certain sector of people out there that are never going to come to you. So why not be, the store they can go buy their own stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Plus you can also do, a lot of people I know I want to say an aftercare package.
Yeah.
And, and I mean, yes, your company is buying from your other line of business, but you're actually feeding yourself. So people, I don't think they know the power of that. I've done that. I've bought kits from the rag company where I'll buy a single bucket, and I'll fill it with, a grit guard and a sponge and some rinseless and a package of towels and, put the lid on it, spin it all up, send it and ship it to somebody. Just have it drop shipped as a gift. But it always turns around that person calls me back and asks me questions and, turns into some other stuff. So
that's maybe an aspect that a lot of, detail shop owners kind of overlook is the gifting thing.
Yeah.
I kind of hooked up with a winery. We've got our own branded wine that we give a bottle to each coating customer. Just go above and beyond stuff like that. I mean,
yeah, that's awesome. That's totally out of the box. I mean, that's, far left-hand turn from detailing, but that's really cool that you come up with ideas. There's I think there's a place online where you literally can package chocolate bars with your logo and everything on them. And I've seen somebody do that where they literally have they're part of their aftercare package. They have like a bottle of, like a bead maker type of top coat, a rag, and then they have this chocolate bar and they put it all together and put that in the car with a little bow on it. And, I think that people overlook the little things like that can make a big difference. You put a couple business cards in there and they're going to remember that.
The one big thing I've learned from, my interactions with P&S is, Bob and Dave make me feel important.
Mm-hmm.
That's important to make your customers feel important, like care. They have a customer for life because they've treated me well. They've been nice to me. They send me an email every now and then just checking in.
Yeah. And I think that's part of that, like you said, being a nice person or being a decent person. I think of me personally, I'm interested once I find out about somebody, So for instance, we'll take Sydney as an example. She's probably cringing right now because I'm going to use her as an example, but Sydney's dog Piper, right? So as soon as I'm going to go to Sydney's house or her shop, I'm always like, oh, I wonder how Piper's doing, And so I'll ask them. That's just a natural thing. Jody is just generally one of the nicest people I've ever met on the planet. And he is always concerned about you and how's your daughter doing? How's your kids doing? Is there anything I can do? And so I think that is part of that is just realizing that it's okay to do those things, right? A lot of people, I think, especially men, I will say, are very guarded in what they do. Gabe, Josh, you are important. I think a lot of people forget that just being that kind, considerate, compassionate human is okay.
Yeah.
And
they're great. Don't hide your emotions.
Because there's so much stuff out there about, you got to be the lion and you got to go after it and you got to just, and that's okay. That's okay. You can do that and be a good person at the same time.
Yep. I'm pretty hardcore in my business, but I spend 2 to 3 hours a day on the phone mentoring other detail shop owners. That's you got to care. You're not going to do everything on your own. You got to have, someone there with you.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is it is kind of that village, right? That mentality. And that's what I think that when people talk about the industry and there's a lot of, controversy, do we really have an industry or not? Well, of course we do. You could call me on the phone and ask me a question. I could call you on the phone and ask you a question. And I'd be like, hey, Josh, this is Rod from RoadFS. Yeah, what can I do for you? Hey, I'm using, whatever, Absolute, and I'm having this issue with it. That is 3 companies removed from the manufacturer. And yet you and I could have that conversation. And I think people forget that, or just connecting people. I know that one time at a show, Sarah, who's watching, I introduced her to Jackie Orlando down in Florida, and they hit it off really well. And she got some really good advice from those guys. And that was nothing. That took zero effort on my part to say, hey, I know this person, let's bring them together. And I know a lot of relationships are like that, where you meet somebody, Keith Duplessis was like that when we met Keith, Bob and Dave Phillips. They're all over. And that is something that is, I think, greater than just doing a job, right? I can go to a job anywhere. I can be tomorrow. My wife and I have got this saying, you always got to treat people good and with respect, and not because you have to, but because tomorrow this could all end and I could be digging ditches. And I want to make sure that I'm able to stay at a decent relationship with people, so I don't ever look at people as below me or anything like that. And I think that helps a lot too when you think of people aren't above you, right? And it's not in a cocky way, but just, hey, everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time, unless they're an acrobat. So, so before we wrap this up, because we like to keep them, under 45 minutes, what what advice would you give people, or what do you want people to know about you, your business, and detailing in general?
It's not rocket science. Like I said earlier, work your butt off. Um, I work way more than I should. That's something I work on. Um, but don't let it consume you.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to 2 or 3 years ago, I never left. I never left my shop. I was here hour before open, hour after close, never went on trips. Um, I made one trip to a training, and it kind of changed my life. I mean, I saw that they could handle it without me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. I mean, that's the thing. Don't ever think that your business can't run without you if you have the right people. It'll be just fine.
Yeah. And Sarah and Sean just throw up some good stuff there about, helping people out and always taking the time for that. And what you're saying makes total sense. I think that, again, too many times people think I have to put in 70, 80, 90, 100 hours. I have to be here all the time. And I'm the worst at that. Jody's probably cracking up in the production area right now because I'm here every day.
Yeah. And I'm still bad at it, but I'm better. I'm better than I was.
Yeah. And I'm really good at it. My wife made me, but I say that not jokingly, but when we first started 14 years ago, I had my phone with me all the time, literally slept with it by my bed and answered emails at dinner, all that stuff. And one day I came home and we were talking and my phone went off and I just grabbed my phone and she literally just took it out of my hands and she just set it down and she said, after 5 o'clock, you're mine. And so now when I go home, I literally will silence my phone. It's helped me immensely. It's helped me be a better person, a better father, a better husband. It's helped me be a better business owner because I realize that I don't need to be at everybody's beck and call 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I realize also that didn't help our business. So, you got to take time out. And again, I'm like you. I'm getting better at it. I'm not great at it. I don't take a lot of vacations, Richard. But that's what happens. Is you try to get better all the time, and I think that right there is probably the key to this: is try to get better and improve all the time at anything, at being a business owner, at being a human, at being a boss. Which, ironically. We asked our employees once, do you see Jody, Rod, and the other two owners more as a boss or as a like a partner, right? A boss or a mentor? And it's interesting how they put it. But that's always a good thing, is to look at yourself in the mirror and am I doing what I would want somebody to do to me or with me? So
yeah, I mean, I've got 2 employees that are, their goal is to have their own shop. So I'm helping them. I mean, I love them. They're like kids to me. I'm helping them. I'm helping them with the shop. I'm helping them with the product. I mean, they're here full time, but they're doing it on their own, trying to get it off the ground. And you can't hold good people down. I mean, if you've got good people that work for you, you got to lift them up.
Yeah, and I agree with that. That's totally it always hurts, especially if it's a good employee. But a lot of times it'll happen the other way around. We've had 2 of the employees that have been here over 10 years have had multiple offers, and they've felt comfortable enough to come to us and tell us, hey, this is what's going on. And and in every single case, we've been able to talk to them about it. And they've decided to stay.
Yeah, it's good. And you are great people.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. So be a better person, and don't get so nervous. I think that's the key. Is be, somebody asked me once after one of these big events where we were working on priceless airplanes or cars or something. They're like, how do you do that? And I said, Well, part of it is just I'm dumb enough to think I can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's anybody that's been in automotive. I don't know what's your background from early on in automotive industry that wasn't detailing.
We actually did interior repair for the first 5 years, going bouncing from dealership to dealership, working on the lots.
Yeah. So, and I started out as a mechanic. I was a full-on ASE certified wrench turner, and I got the crooked fingers to prove it. And then I went into restorations. I restored cars. I've done interior stuff, not anything high end. It was basically seat covers and hog rings. But engine building, full-on frame-off restorations and stuff like that. And I think that is, again, back to that, you just think you're stupid enough to fix it. Most mechanics just have a mentality that, well, first off, I don't know what's wrong with it, but let me take a look at it because I might be able to fix it. And I think that's the same with detailing or interior repair or paint correction. It's like, hello, Richard. Hello, Kelly Mankin a minute ago. It's the same kind of, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Thanks, Kelly. Hope Jody feels better. It's the same kind of mentality. It's like, I look at a car, it's got some scratches, I might be able to get that out. You lick your finger. Yeah, it disappears when I do that. I can probably get that out of there, or I can at least make it look better than it is.
Yeah.
And that's just that pursuit of, not perfection, because it's never going to happen, but the pursuit of it'll look a little better. And I'll steal one of my favorite sayings that I heard Sidney Bragg-Wen say once was, we're going to stop time. So we're basically going to take that vehicle from where it's at. We're going to make it better. And then we're going to try to stop time on the corrosion and the paint scratches and everything on that vehicle. So I love that. I use it all the time, but I always cite my source. So this has been super fun. We could probably go on for another couple of hours and keep going, but let's wrap it up. If there's anything else you want to talk about, let's do that, and then we will sign off.
I think we're pretty good.
Awesome. Well, let's throw Josh. There you go. Carousel Appearance, Auto Appearance. Sorry. There's a phone number and a website. And if you don't know Josh, you can meet him at SEMA or MT. He's a really nice guy, super low key, zero drama, it seems like, which is always a fun part of meeting anybody. And then if you have not already done it, please go out and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and Facebook. Love to get you on. If you want to be on the show, you just need to contact myself or Jody. That's really easy. You just go to roadfs.com and you can put in a request. Or if you can't find me on Facebook, then you really didn't do a good search, because I'm the only Rod Pusey out there. So thank you very much, Josh. Love talking to you guys. We will see you at SEMA for sure. And then from there, hopefully some other events. So
absolutely. Thanks, Rod.
Yep. We'll see you guys next week.